I was 23 years old, standing in my kitchen, watching a man I genuinely cared about apologize to me for something he didn't do. And I knew it. I knew he didn't do anything wrong, but I just stood there and let him apologize anyway. Let him talk himself in circles trying to fix something I had manufactured out of thin air. And the worst part, the part that still bothers me when I think about it, is that I felt good. I felt powerful, like I had won something. That moment scared me because I wasn't a cruel person. I didn't think of myself as someone who manipulated people. But there I was, doing exactly that and doing it well. That's what pushed me toward therapy as a career. I needed to understand what I had done, why I had done it, where it came from. And what I found when I started digging, both in myself and later in the women I worked with professionally, is what I'm going to share with you today. Because here's what I know after 20 years of this work. If you are a man over 60 who has come out the other side of a long relationship feeling like you could never quite get it right, like the rules kept changing, like your own words kept getting used against you, like you were slowly losing your mind. You were not losing your mind. You were inside a system nobody ever showed you, and today, I'm going to show it to you. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that women don't run these plays from some cold, calculated place. Most women have no idea they're doing it. I didn't. It gets passed down. Mother to daughter, relationship to relationship. And by the time a woman is doing it to you, it's just how she moves through the world. It feels completely natural to her, which is exactly what makes it so hard to see and so hard to defend against. And the way it usually starts is the simplest, quietest play in the whole book. She just stops talking to you. You wake up one morning and something is different. She's moving around the house, making coffee, folding laundry, but the warmth is gone. You ask how she slept, she says fine. You ask what she wants for breakfast, she says she's not hungry. You ask what's wrong, she says nothing. And you absolutely know that it is not nothing. But you cannot get to it. There is no door in. And so you sit with it. And you start running back through the last 24 hours trying to figure out what you did. And the more you can't figure it out, the worse you feel. By the time she finally speaks to you, you're so relieved that you don't even care what the original issue was. You'll agree to anything just to have the warmth back. That's what the silence is designed to do. It's not about needing space. Space looks like going for a walk, calling a friend, asking for a night to herself. This is different. This is staying right there in the house, visible, present, and just removing herself from you emotionally, so that you feel her absence without being able to do a single thing about it. I did this at 23 and it worked perfectly. I've watched women do it at 63 with the same result. And what usually ends the silence is the story she's been building while you were confused and spinning. Because women don't just store emotions. We build narratives around them. And the narrative she builds while she's not talking to you is almost always the same shape. I am the one who suffers, and you are the reason why. I watched my mother do this to my father for most of my childhood. She had this gift, and I say that with full understanding of what I'm saying. This gift for taking any small thing my father did and turning it into evidence of something much larger. He came home late from work one night when I was about 12. Nothing planned. Nothing missed. He just stayed late finishing something. He walked in the door and my mother looked at him and said quietly, "It's fine. I just didn't realize how far down the list I'd fallen." That's it, one sentence. He didn't miss a dinner, didn't forget an occasion, didn't choose anything over her. He worked late. And in 10 words, she went from wife to martyr. And my father, a good, patient man who loved her deeply, spent the next 3 days trying to convince her she wasn't on any list. I watched that, and I filed it away without knowing I was filing it away. And years later, there I was, 23 years old, doing the same thing in my own kitchen. That's how it gets passed on. And what my mother did that night sits right at the center of everything. It's the play that makes all the others work. Because the moment she cast herself as the one who suffers, my father couldn't push back on anything. You can't argue with someone's pain. How much you can't present evidence against someone's sadness. The moment she was the victim, he was automatically the cause. And any attempt to defend himself just made him look worse. So you get quiet too. You start softening your position. You start wondering if maybe she's right, maybe you did fall short, maybe you could have called ahead. And she doesn't have to do anything else. She just has to hold that position and wait while you talk yourself into her version of events. Now, here's where it gets layered. And this is the part that grinds men down over years, not days. Because it's one thing to deal with a single incident. It's another thing entirely when she starts pulling those incidents out of storage. Every shortfall you've ever had, everything you forgot, every time you came home late, every moment you fell short in any way, it gets filed. And I mean filed with the kind of precision that would impress an accountant. Dates, circumstances, what you said, what you didn't say, all of it. And it's available at any time. So you can be having a conversation about something that happened this week, and suddenly you're back in 2011, defending yourself against something you thought was long resolved. The argument started about the grocery run. It ends with her citing evidence from a decade ago, and you're standing there genuinely confused because you thought that chapter was closed. You apologized. She said it was fine. It was not fine. It was just moved to the archive. And when she pulls it out, and she will pull it out, you can feel the floor shift under you because now you're not arguing about today. You're arguing about who you've always been. And that's a much harder case to make. I had a relationship in my early 20s where I did this routinely. He'd let me down once, genuinely, early on. And after that, any argument we had, any tension, any disagreement, I found a way to loop it back to that one moment. It became my ace. The thing I could play when I needed to change the direction of the conversation or when I felt like I was losing ground. He eventually stopped bringing things up at all, and I thought that meant things were getting better. It didn't. It meant I had trained him into silence. He learned that bringing anything forward just opened the archive, so he stopped. That's how women keep men small without even intending to. Not through cruelty, through a pattern that never got interrupted. Now, I'm somewhere in the middle of all of this, and I want to make sure you see how these things connect because they are never really separate, is the question of whose fault it is when she's unhappy. And the answer, always, is yours. She's not in a good mood, and she doesn't know why. Your fault. She had a difficult day, and you weren't emotionally available enough when you got home. Your fault. She woke up feeling lonely inside a house she shares with you. Your fault. And if you don't intuitively know why she's unhappy and move to fix it without being told, that itself becomes evidence that you don't love her enough. You're looking at me like I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I've sat with hundreds of women in therapy who genuinely believe that the right man would just know, would feel it, would show up at exactly the right moment with exactly the right response. And if you didn't, it means something is broken in you or broken in the relationship. So you guess. And if you guess wrong, now she's got something new for the archive. And if you guess right, now you've confirmed that you're capable of it, which means every future time you miss, it's because you chose not to care. There is no version of this game that you win over the long run. And the thing that makes all of it almost impossible to walk away from, the reason men stay inside this confusion for years, sometimes decades, is the tears. You can tell yourself they won't work on you. I've heard men say that, and I've watched those same men fold completely the moment it happens, because it's not a weakness, it's biology. Men are built to respond to female distress. And that instinct kept families alive for thousands of years. And a woman's emotional system knows this, even when her conscious mind doesn't. I caught myself doing it clearly once. I was in a disagreement with a man, feeling like I was losing the argument. And the tears just came. And I watched him stop mid-sentence. Everything changed. He moved toward me instead of standing his ground. And I remember thinking, clearly in that moment, that I hadn't planned it, but it had worked perfectly. That scared me more than anything else I'd ever caught myself doing. And what I've learned since, both from my own experience and from years of sitting with women in a clinical setting, is that this is rarely a conscious choice. The body learns what works, and it responds accordingly. That doesn't make it fair to you. But it does mean she might not even know she's doing it. Which brings me to the small things. Because if there is one thing that accumulates the most damage over the length of a long relationship, it's not the big fights. It's the 1,000 small moments where something minor became enormous. A cabinet left open, a dish in the sink, a comment she took the wrong way at dinner, something you said in passing 6 months ago that you don't even remember saying. On their own, these things mean nothing, but they don't stay on their own. They connect to the narrative. They become more evidence, more data, more proof of the larger story she's been building about what you are and what you've always been. And after enough years of it, you start to distrust your own read on things. You stop trusting your instincts. Because you've been told so many times, directly and indirectly, that your instincts are wrong, that your read is off, that you're missing something obvious that any decent man would have caught. That's the real damage, not any one incident. The slow erosion of your confidence in your own perception of reality. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. You were not imagining it. The confusion was real because the system was real. And you were trying to use logic to navigate something that was never built on logic to begin with. That's not a failure of intelligence. That's just a mismatch of tools. The way through it is to see it clearly, which you're already doing, and to stop accepting responsibility for another adult's emotional state. Her feelings are hers. You can care about how she feels. You can be kind. You can be present. You can be a good man. But you cannot be the source and the solution for everything she feels. That was never a reasonable thing to ask of you. And if you're at a place in your life now where you've stepped back from all of that, where you're living with some actual peace and space around you, then protect that. That didn't come easy, and it's worth protecting. If you want tools for doing exactly that real practical guidance for living your senior years with independence, clarity, and strength, that's what this Senior Men Club weekly newsletter is built around. Every week, I bring strategies and stories for men who have decided they're done, letting someone else set the terms. The link is below. Come join us. Now, I want to close with one thing. I was 23 when I stood in that kitchen and watched a good man apologize for something he didn't do. And I felt powerful. And then I felt ashamed. And that shame is part of what sent me down the road I've been on ever since. Most women never have that moment. They keep running the plays because nobody ever holds up a mirror. I'm holding one up for you today. So you can see clearly what was happening, put it down, and move forward. You've earned that. Stay strong. I'll see you in the next one.